Right now, sitting in the grass of your own backyard, is an 8-legged, armored vampire that has survived for over 100 million years. It doesn't care about your home security cameras or your fences. It is nature's ultimate, perfectly engineered hacker. We are talking about the tick. Before you brush it off as just another annoying garden bug, let's get the science straight. Ticks are not insects. They are arachnids. They share a family tree with spiders and scorpions, and to simply call them survivors is a complete joke. In 2017, scientists discovered 99-million-year-old amber. Trapped inside was a prehistoric species literally named Dracula's terrible tick. And tangled right next to it, a fossilized dinosaur feather. When a massive asteroid wiped out the T-Rex and blocked out the sun, this tiny creature didn't panic. It simply dug deep into the dirt, powered down, and outlived the apocalypse. They are practically immortal. In 2001, Japanese researchers placed live ticks inside a high-pressure vacuum chamber to examine them under a scanning electron microscope. A human placed in that exact same chamber would boil from the inside out in a matter of seconds. The ticks survived in an absolute space-like vacuum for 30 minutes with zero oxygen. When pulled out, they casually walked away. They are the biological equivalent of the IRS, incredibly patient, impossible to destroy, and absolutely determined to take your blood. The blind sniper. So how does a creature the size of an apple seed, which is entirely blind, manage to hunt the smartest apex predator on the planet? It doesn't jump, it doesn't drop from trees like a microscopic paratrooper. That is a complete suburban myth. Instead, it uses a piece of biological hardware that the United States military wishes it could replicate: Haller's organ. Located on the top of their 2 front legs, Haller's organ is a highly complex sensory pit. While you are walking your dog, thinking you're blending seamlessly into nature, this organ is chemically analyzing the air around you. It detects the carbon dioxide you exhale with every breath. It registers the specific molecules of lactic acid and ammonia in your sweat. It even feels the radiant heat of your body from several feet away. To a tick, you are not a stealthy human. You are essentially walking through the forest wearing a glowing neon sign that says, "Free all-you-can-eat buffet." Once it detects you, it begins a process called questing. It climbs to the very edge of a leaf or a tall piece of grass, extends its front legs out like grappling hooks, and enters a zen-like trance. It can stay in this exact position without food or water for up to a year, just waiting. With the terrifying, stubborn patience of someone standing in line at the DMV, it simply waits for you to brush past that one specific leaf. You literally do the work for them. You are the food delivery service driving right up to their front door. And the moment you make physical contact, the biological hack begins. The surgical hack and the backyard myths. When a mosquito bites you, it just jabs a clumsy needle into your skin like a nervous medical student. A tick is much more sophisticated. It is a biological surgeon conducting a covert operation. First, it crawls around your body looking for a warm, hidden spot. Behind the knees, inside the belly button, in the hairline, or places you really don't want to think about. Once it finds the perfect real estate, it deploys its mouth parts. It doesn't have a simple needle. It has 2 telescopic, razor-sharp blades that work exactly like microscopic reciprocating saws. They dig into your skin, physically sawing the flesh apart. Once the hole is made, the tick drives in a rigid tube covered in backward-facing spikes, exactly like a fisherman's harpoon. This is why if you try to rip a tick off your arm with your bare fingers, you usually leave its head buried deep inside your flesh. But the tick knows you might try to scratch it off. So it does something truly horrifying. It drools. It secretes a specialized chemical cement that hardens inside your tissue, physically gluing its face to your bloodstream. You are now permanently attached to an arachnid until it decides it's full. Let's pause to bust a dangerous myth right here. Your grandfather probably told you that the best way to remove a tick is to burn it with a hot match, paint it with nail polish, or smother it in petroleum jelly to suffocate it. Do not ever do this. If you burn or suffocate a tick, it panics. And when a tick panics, it violently vomits the entire contents of its infected stomach directly into your bloodstream. You are basically guaranteeing yourself a disease. The only correct way to remove it is with fine-tipped tweezers, pulling straight up. But why didn't you feel those tiny saws cutting into your skin? Because the tick's saliva is a biochemical weapon. Before it even takes a sip of blood, it injects a powerful cocktail of local anesthetics to numb the area, antihistamines to stop you from itching, and anticoagulants so your blood flows like a freshly tapped keg. You could carry a tick on your body for 5 days, showering, sleeping, and working, and your brain would never receive a single pain signal. The chemical warfare and the water pump. Here is the part that keeps biologists awake at night. The tick doesn't just drink your blood. It acts as a two-way biological water pump. As the tick feeds, it needs to extract the heavy nutritious elements, specifically the red blood cells. But human blood has too much water in it. If the tick kept all that liquid, it would swell up and literally explode like a water balloon. So, it acts like a filter. It sucks your blood in, separates the good stuff, and then literally spits the excess water back into your bloodstream. Think of it as a terrible dinner guest who drinks your expensive wine and backwashes directly into the bottle. And this is the exact moment everything goes wrong. Because that water being pumped back into your body is mixed with the tick's saliva. And that saliva contains over 3,000 different proteins. Some of these proteins are called evicins. Their only job is to hunt down the alarm molecules of your immune system and physically bind to them, permanently silencing your body's natural defense network. The tick turns off your biological security cameras while it robs your house blind. But the tick itself isn't the real monster. The tick is just a dirty flying syringe. The real monster is the microscopic passenger it carries inside its gut. The mind-controlling spiral. Let's talk about the deer tick. In its nymph stage, when it is desperately hungry for blood, it is roughly the size of a poppy seed on a bagel. You will never see it. You won't feel it. And that is exactly why it is responsible for the vast majority of Lyme disease infections in the United States. Lyme disease isn't caused by the tick itself. It is caused by a stealthy bacteria living inside the tick's gut. And this bacteria is a masterpiece of dark evolutionary engineering. First of all, the bacteria actually manipulates the tick's tiny brain. Scientists have discovered that ticks infected with Lyme disease behave completely differently than healthy ticks. They become more aggressive. They climb higher on the grass. They take more risks. They can withstand drier environments. The bacteria essentially hijacks the tick's nervous system, turning it into a zombie courier, forcing it to find a human host faster so the bacteria can spread. When the bacteria is finally pumped into your bloodstream, it doesn't look like a normal round cell. It is shaped like a corkscrew. It has built-in biological motors on both ends of its body. When it enters your system, it doesn't just float passively in your blood. It actively drills. It uses its corkscrew shape to bore through your blood vessel walls, drilling deep into your joint cartilage, your heart muscle, and your brain tissue. In dense tissue like cartilage, this bacteria can actually swim faster than your white blood cells can chase it. It hides in places where your immune system and even standard antibiotics struggle to reach. It can even shed its outer protein coat, rendering itself completely invisible to your immune radar. This is why hundreds of thousands of Americans suffer from chronic joint pain, facial paralysis, extreme fatigue, and severe brain fog, often being misdiagnosed by doctors or just thinking they are getting old. They aren't just aging, they are slowly being eaten from the inside by microscopic spirals that have outsmarted human medicine. The Trojan horse of the South. While the deer tick is a silent, microscopic assassin, there is another species in the United States that takes a much more direct, aggressive approach. Meet the Lone Star tick. You can easily identify the adult female by the single, bright white dot on her back, like a sniper's target painted on a biological weapon. Most ticks, as we mentioned, are extremely patient. They sit on a blade of grass and wait for you to come to them. Not the Lone Star tick. This species is the aggressive, hot-headed Texan of the arachnid world. It actively hunts. If you sit down on a log in the woods, or even on your patio furniture, and a Lone Star tick senses your carbon dioxide, it doesn't wait. It will literally run across the ground to get to you. They are fast, they swarm in large numbers, and they carry a payload that attacks the very foundation of the American lifestyle. This tick doesn't usually carry Lyme disease. It carries something much weirder. Inside the saliva of the Lone Star tick is a complex mammalian sugar, simply known as alpha-gal. This sugar naturally exists in the bodies of almost all mammals. Cows have it, pigs have it, sheep and deer have it. But humans and ape ancestors? We lost this sugar through an evolutionary mutation millions of years ago. Because we don't have it, our immune systems do not recognize it. So, when the Lone Star tick bites you and spits this strange sugar directly into your bloodstream, your immune system freaks out. It treats it like a deadly virus. Your body goes to full-scale war, creating an army of antibodies specifically designed to attack the alpha-gal molecule forever. And that is where the true nightmare begins. The end of the American barbecue. Imagine working hard your whole life. You finally buy that beautiful house with the big backyard. You invest $2,000 in a premium offset smoker. It's the 4th of July, your friends are over, and you are slicing into a perfectly smoked, tender, medium-rare beef brisket. You take a bite. It's glorious. A few hours later, usually in the dead of the night around 2 a.m., you wake up covered in massive hives. Your throat starts to close. Your blood pressure plummets. You are sweating, dizzy, and going into full anaphylactic shock. Your spouse is frantically calling 911. Why? Because the beef you just ate is full of the alpha-gal sugar, and your immune system, which was secretly reprogrammed by the tick bite months ago, now recognizes that brisket as a deadly poison. Because the reaction happens 4 to 6 hours after eating meat, most people never connect it to dinner. They think it's a random allergy, but it's not. The Lone Star tick is essentially nature's radical, uncompromising eco-terrorist. With a single, painless bite, it can forcibly transform a lifelong, meat-loving American into a strict vegetarian. You will develop a lifelong, potentially fatal allergy to beef, pork, lamb, venison, and sometimes even dairy products and gelatins. You can still safely eat chicken and fish, but the classic American barbecue, the perfect ribeye steak, that part of your life is over forever. And the worst part? The Lone Star tick is aggressively expanding its territory. It used to be strictly confined to the Deep South, but thanks to warming climates and expanding deer populations, it is marching aggressively up the eastern seaboard, deep into the Midwest, and as far north as Maine. The invisible meat allergy epidemic is spreading, one backyard at a time. The Clone Army. If forced veganism doesn't scare you, let's talk about a new invader that behaves less like an animal and more like a self-replicating computer virus. The Asian longhorned tick. First discovered in the United States in 2017, this tick left scientists completely baffled. It was spreading at a rate that mathematically made no sense. Standard ticks have to find a mate, reproduce, and lay eggs. It's a slow, vulnerable process full of risks. The Asian longhorned tick bypasses this completely. The females of this species do not need males. Using an evolutionary cheat code, a single female tick can drop off a stray dog onto your front lawn and clone herself without ever mating. She lays up to 2,000 eggs, and every single one hatches into a perfect, genetically identical female copy. Those 2,000 clones grow up, and each lays another 2,000. In some states, devastated farmers have found perfectly healthy cattle completely drained of blood, covered in tens of thousands of these identical clones. It is explosive biological warfare, proving that nature will break its own rules just to guarantee its survival. Terminal invulnerability. You might be thinking, well, winter is coming, the hard frost will kill them off. I'll just stay inside until December. Or maybe you think, I always throw my clothes in the washing machine after a hike. I'm safe. You have been lied to. The tick has already anticipated your modern defenses. Let's address the winter myth first. When the temperature drops below freezing, most insects die. Their cells freeze, expand, and rupture. But ticks have evolved a biological cheat code. As the days get shorter in the fall, they produce natural cryoprotectants in their blood, literally organic antifreeze. It physically prevents ice crystals from forming and shredding their cells. They simply crawl under the insulating layer of fallen leaves in your yard, lower their heart rate to almost zero, and sleep beneath the snow. The moment the temperature creeps above freezing for even a single sunny afternoon in January, they wake up, hungry and ready to hunt. They don't die, they just take a nap. What about the washing machine? Let's say you walk through the tall grass, take off your jeans, and throw them straight into the wash on a hot cycle with heavy detergent. You assume the tick will drown, be boiled, or be poisoned by the chemical soap. Wrong again. Ticks have an incredibly low oxygen demand. They can survive entirely submerged in water for up to 3 days. The soapy, turbulent water in your washing machine? To a tick, it is nothing more than a turbulent bubble bath. They will hold on to the denim fabric with their hooked claws and survive the entire wash, rinse, and high-speed spin cycle without breaking a sweat. The only way to defeat them in the laundry room is extreme, desert-level dehydration. You have to bypass the washer entirely and throw your dry clothes straight into the dryer on maximum heat for at least 20 minutes. You cannot drown them. You have to literally bake the moisture out of their armored bodies. The Suburban Incubator and the Mouse Illusion. You might believe that the safest place to be is inside the civilized borders of your local neighborhood. You think the deep, dark woods are where the real danger lies. The reality is the exact opposite. Human suburbs are the most efficient tick-breeding factories on the planet. We cut down the dense, contiguous forests, creating fragmented patches of woods perfectly separated by manicured lawns. For years, scientists told us that animals like opossums were our biological vacuum cleaners, claiming a single opossum eats 5,000 ticks a season. That turned out to be a complete myth, based on a flawed lab experiment. In reality, opossums don't actively eat ticks in the wild. We have virtually no natural defenses left in our backyards. Instead, we built a paradise for the tick's favorite transport vehicles. And here is a shocking fact. The deer gets all the blame, but it isn't the real culprit. Deer are just the bus. They provide the blood meal for adult ticks to reproduce. A single adult white-tailed deer can carry up to 500,000 ticks through your neighborhood in a single year. But deer do not carry the Lyme disease bacteria. The true villain of the suburbs is the white-footed mouse. These mice thrive in our stone walls, our firewood piles, and our sheds. They are the primary reservoir for the Lyme disease bacteria. When a baby tick bites a mouse, it gets infected. When it bites you later, it passes it on. We thought we were taming nature by building the suburbs. Instead, we accidentally designed the perfect, predator-free incubator for nature's most sophisticated hacker, driven by the mice hiding right in our walls. The toxic slot machine and Powassan. When people think of tick bites, they usually only worry about Lyme disease. But thinking a tick only carries one disease is like assuming a dirty needle found in an alleyway only carries one infection. Ticks are not clean delivery systems. They are biological garbage trucks. When that tick pumps its saliva back into your blood, you aren't just rolling the dice on Lyme. You are pulling the lever on a toxic slot machine. This is what doctors call co-infections. One of the most terrifying passengers the deer tick carries is a microscopic parasite that causes a disease called Babesiosis. This isn't a bacteria. It is a parasite that behaves exactly like malaria. Once it enters your bloodstream, it actively hunts down your red blood cells, burrows inside them, and reproduces until the cell literally explodes. Patients experience violent chills, drenching night sweats, and severe anemia as their blood is systematically destroyed from the inside out. And then there is anaplasmosis, a bacteria that targets your white blood cells, the very soldiers meant to protect you. It invades them, disables them, and uses them as a breeding ground. You can get Lyme, Babesiosis, and anaplasmosis all at the exact same time, from a single bite. Your immune system isn't just fighting a war, it's fighting a coordinated invasion on 3 different fronts. But the most terrifying jackpot on this slot machine is the Powassan virus. Unlike Lyme disease, which usually takes 24 to 36 hours of the tick being attached to transmit the bacteria, the Powassan virus can be transmitted into your bloodstream in as little as 15 minutes. It causes severe encephalitis, swelling of the brain. There is no cure, no specific treatment, and it carries a terrifyingly high mortality rate. Half of those who survive are left with permanent neurological damage. 15 minutes is all it takes. The 5-day deadline. While Lyme disease is a slow, agonizing burn that can ruin your life over decades, there is another tick in the United States that doesn't have time for a slow burn. Meet the American dog tick. It is larger, faster, and carries a pathogen that acts like a ticking time bomb. Rocky Mountain spotted fever. Despite its geographic name, this disease is found almost everywhere in the United States, especially in the Southeast and Midwest, and its mechanics are utterly brutal. The highly aggressive bacteria it carries doesn't hide in your joints or your brain. It immediately attacks the delicate, microscopic inner lining of your blood vessels. Imagine the plumbing in your house suddenly dissolving. As the bacteria multiplies, your blood vessels begin to leak. Blood escapes into your surrounding tissue, creating the signature spotted rash that typically starts on your wrists and ankles. But the rash on your skin is just a visual indicator of the catastrophic internal bleeding happening simultaneously inside your major organs. If you are bitten by a tick carrying Rocky Mountain spotted fever, you do not have time to wait and see if you feel better. You have a strict 5-day deadline. If you do not start aggressive antibiotic treatment, specifically doxycycline, within the first 5 days of symptoms, the mortality rate skyrockets. Your kidneys fail, your lungs fill with fluid, your fingers and toes can become gangrenous, and your blood pressure collapses. A creature the size of a lentil can drop a healthy 200-pound man in less than a week. The Plum Indies Conspiracy. Whenever a disease seems too perfectly engineered to destroy human lives, people start asking questions. And when it comes to the explosion of ticks and Lyme disease in the United States, we have to talk about the elephant in the room, Plum Island. If you look at a map of the East Coast, just off the tip of Long Island, New York, sits a small strip of land called Plum Island. For decades, it was a highly classified, heavily guarded federal animal disease research facility. During the Cold War, under Operation Paperclip, the U.S. government brought in foreign scientists, including a man named Erich Traub. Traub was a former virologist for the Third Reich. His specific specialty during World War II? Engineering ticks and mosquitoes to drop as biological weapons over enemy territory. And where was the very first major outbreak of Lyme disease discovered in the 1970s? In the small, quiet town of Lyme, Connecticut. A town that sits just a few miles directly across the water from the Plum Island Research Facility. For decades, Americans have whispered the terrifying theory: did the government accidentally, or intentionally, release genetically modified, weaponized ticks into the American suburbs? Did a bird carry an infected tick from the open-air lab directly to the mainland? In 2019, The U.S. House of Representatives actually passed an amendment demanding the Department of Defense declassify all documents regarding the weaponization of ticks between 1950 and 1975. The government officially denies that Plum Island created Lyme disease. And biologically speaking, scientists have found traces of the Lyme bacteria in ancient mice, and even in the frozen 5,300-year-old mummy known as Ötzi the Iceman in Europe. Nature didn't strictly need the government's help to invent this monster, but the undeniable fact that the United States military looked at the tick and thought, "This is the perfect delivery system for a biological weapon," tells you exactly how dangerous this creature truly is. The cure in the poison. Nature has a dark, twisted sense of irony. The creature that causes so much suffering, paranoia, and disease in the United States might actually hold the key to saving millions of human lives. Right now, in high-security pharmaceutical labs across the country, scientists are breeding thousands of ticks. But they aren't trying to kill them. They are trying to steal their source code. Remember those evasins, the chemical proteins in tick saliva that effortlessly turn off the human immune system? It turns out, shutting down the immune system is exactly what modern medicine desperately needs to do in certain critical situations. When a human has a severe heart attack, the immune system panics. It rushes white blood cells to the heart, causing massive inflammation that actually damages the delicate heart muscle even more than the initial attack. It's an overreaction that kills people. But scientists have discovered that if they inject the specific proteins synthesized directly from tick saliva into a patient having a heart attack, the tick's protein instantly calms the immune system down. It stops the inflammation dead in its tracks and prevents permanent tissue damage. They are looking at tick saliva to cure severe asthma. They are testing it as a treatment for autoimmune diseases, where the body mistakenly attacks itself, and even looking into how it can prevent the deadly cytokine storms associated with severe respiratory viruses. The greatest biological hacker on Earth has written a chemical code that human scientists cannot replicate from scratch. Our ultimate predator, the vampire of the suburbs, might soon become our most valuable pharmacy. The invisible siege. We spend billions of dollars every year securing our borders. We build stealth bombers, nuclear submarines, and sophisticated AI surveillance networks to protect the American way of life. We genuinely believe we are the untouchable, undisputed masters of our environment. But the truth is, we are currently losing a ground war on our own front lawns. We are fighting an enemy that doesn't sleep, an enemy that survives vacuums, freezing temperatures, and washing machines. It doesn't need to break through a wall. It rides in on the backs of deer, mice, and our own beloved pets. It operates with a surgical precision that baffles our greatest doctors, leaving a trail of chronic pain, meat allergies, and ruined lives in its wake. The tick is a humbling reminder of a terrifying ancient truth. You do not own the earth. You merely rent space on it. And nature is constantly, quietly working on new ways to evict you. So the next time you walk out to get the mail or take your dog for a walk in the tall grass behind your house, remember what is waiting for you out there. You are not just going for a walk in the park. You are stepping into an active biological minefield, and the hunter is already scanning the air, waiting for you to exhale.